nervous, on the surface I look fine. My brain feels heavy, my traumatized mind. And I'm so tired, I can't feel my eyes. Whoa, whoa. I'm petty, but I know how to lie. I feel feelings that I can't describe. I'm not breathing, but I'm still alive. Whoa, whoa.
Shout out to Neoliberal Tears for this.
Shout out to Twitter/X user Neoliberal Tears for resurfacing this clip.
Neoliberal Tears commented at the top of the show, "What happened to my music?" One of my favorite commenters. So much affection to make this voice.
Prepare for a holiday season of Neoliberal Tears.
Hi, hello, and welcome to Nightcap with Neoliberal Tears. Let me just adjust real quick, okay? Hi, hello, and welcome to Nightcap with Neoliberal Tears. I'm Neoliberal Tears, and we have a lot of Neoliberal Tears tonight. A lot of liberal commentators are reckoning with their own push for Graham Plattner to run in the Senate. Hello, the right and left trousers. Hello, good to see you. Thank you for being here. I hope you've been able to catch the recent drama happening on the left. There's a lot of soul searching going on right now with pundits, at least with some of them. Some of them are just too sociopathic to be in the business of learning. So I hope I'm able to provide them some clarity about where they went wrong. And why, first of all, I think the fact that some of them were pushing so hard for a war criminal to run for the Senate. Turns out that there's a little bit of egg on people's faces. Let's see. And I agree, Ryan has never been so grim. You know, his personal bartender from his days in DC, Graham Plattner, who apparently was his bartender back in the day. Yeah, there's a massive backlash, really from all corners of the internet, and it's well deserved. I think there's the backlash more broadly. I think also has something to do with the transparent coordination that's been going on between people who are supposed to be journalists and scrutinizing candidates. And the backlash to that, and the fact that a lot of them have been playing favorites or acting like they, trying to hide their biases, even though it's extremely obvious, and pushing for this war criminal piece of shit, who, people on the left did not appreciate. And despite voters' reservations, despite the massive the red flags that have been all around Graham Plattner from the beginning, it feels like today was the day that they decided that it's time to drop him. So I wanted to take us back to see how the Majority Report and all the other liberal commentators were talking about Graham Plattner just a few short months ago, and react together to this interesting turn of events. So let's go back. This is just from a few months ago. Let me be accurate here and tell you from when exactly. This was, a month ago. A month ago on the Majority Report. The title is, "Smears against Plattner are getting desperate. Where?" Let's see how desperate they are.
Didn't see this tweet from Lindsay Fiffield saying that she seems very upset about the Times coverage. She supposedly gave them sources that could corroborate her story, even though they couldn't corroborate it. Do people think you maybe pull this up? This tweet's worth running. I know I wasn't planning to do this, but it just popped up in my feed in between the fun half. It's sort of fascinating.
Is this the one that begins, "I bucked all advice"?
Yes. Let's just watch this. And I'm sorry, I'm fascinated by this, both because, I think everybody understands stakes here, right? Maine there is virtually no way to contemplate taking back the Senate without winning Maine. It's
So this was in response to previous allegations of sexual assault against Graham Plattner from from women he dated. And Sam Seder's response here from a month ago is to say, well, but do we understand the stakes of Democrats taking back the Senate? Forget about the women who are being abused. What about the Senate? What about Democrats taking the Senate? These fucking people are literally so disgusting. And I think that's why the backlash is so universal and so severe. And honestly, it should be. Like, I actually have hope in humanity by seeing how they're all being savage right now. It does give me a little bit of hope. I know. You wouldn't think of me as a hopeful individual, but I actually am. Because I have faith in people. And the people who see through your disgusting bullshit, Sam Seder. You disgusting misogynist piece of shit. I actually hope Democrats lose the Senate and the House just so I can imagine your pathetic, disgusting, Zionist little face crying. Because all they care about is Democrats winning. Doesn't matter what they're winning. They're not talking about policy wins. They're talking about individual candidates who they have a personal relationship with behind the scenes. They want them to win so that they feel like they did something. You disgusting pieces of shit liberals. I really hope I choose to believe that there is a hell because the alternative is too depressing. You'll be there, Sam Seder. You'll be there. You'll be burning right next to all the other war criminals for being a Zionist, disgusting piece of shit. And I'm looking at you too, Emma. We're going to talk about you. Chronically inconsistent Emma Vigeland. You and Sam are going to enjoy each other's company in hell. And I hope that the women that Graham Platner raped and abused get to torture you in hell. I hope they get to, do whatever they want with you, pieces of shit.
Literally possible, but it's highly unlikely because the states that you'd have to win are just, further out of reach. And I'm also fascinated by the...
So we have to win Maine. So anyone with sexual assault allegations, shut the fuck up. Democrats have to win Maine. You get it? You get it? We have to win Maine. The stakes.
way this story has developed, like who is doing this? Because the timing of this stuff.
Classic smearing accuse. Who is doing this to my beautiful baby little candidate war criminal? Who is doing this to them? Those annoying, bitchy little accusers. How dare they go after my shot at Democrats taking back the Senate? Who's doing this to me?
Is strange and suggests that it's not just a question of Republicans, because if the Republicans had this stuff, they would drop it, in October. Well,
and this is a mess. Sorry, I keep pausing and I have a trillion clips to get through, so bear with me. But I just want to say, if you're a man out there and you consider yourself a feminist, discrediting accusations of sexual assault just because you want Democrats to win the Senate means you're not beyond just a bad person. You're also a disgusting misogynist, and you should be ashamed of yourself. You shouldn't have children, especially not, girls. You're a disgusting father, Sam Seder. You should be so fucking ashamed of yourself. I hope people cancel their subscriptions to the Majority Report. Honestly, I don't know why anyone would be subscribed to your shitty, fucked up little show. But if they are subscribed, they should unsubscribe. They should cancel. You should go bankrupt for doing whatever your disgusting piece of shit face is doing right now.
Why? Or it could be about Republicans taking a different tact here and saying, we need to get him out of the race, as opposed to try and beat him, because we may not be able to beat him. The best thing is for us to get him out of the race.
Yeah.
And now is the most opportune time to do that. But regardless, so let's put up this tweet from Lindsay Fiffield. She is the only person to suggest any type of physicality. And again, she wouldn't have called it like abuse, but
turns out she's not the only person. She's not the only person to allege any kind of physicality. You pieces of shit. And Emma just nodding along and saying, yeah. How are these people sleeping at night? I genuinely don't know. I mean, they defended Democrats and voting for Democrats even during a genocide. There's a clip of Emma and Sam telling a Palestinian American voter that they should still vote Democrat, even if they're it's the audacity. I don't know if it's a white people thing or if it's a straight white people thing, but the audacity they have to be so fucking disgusting is shocking to me. It's almost inspirational, the kind of audacity and arrogance. It's truly almost remarkable if it wasn't so psychotic.
Any type of physicality from Plattner. And she also suggests that he knew what his tattoo was. So I'm sorry, put this back up. I blocked all advice from my friends. Oh, wait a second.
There it is.
From my friends and resisted my conservative bias and decided to fully trust the Times journalist. I mean, she couldn't even like get through this. She's such like an influencer that she's already in the parentheses are there to address her audience, which is conservatives going like, how could you trust the Times?
And by the way, she's already spoken to the media now that we know, confirmed by her old podcast host and friend, Bethany Mandel, about the tattoo. She
confirms it in this thread too.
Okay.
And so she had already spoken out, but she's talking about like the deal that she made with the Times.
Right.
As they left my home and asked I not talk to other outlets, and I insisted then and repeatedly the following weeks I would keep my word and only share this story with them. Now listen, that right there, that is a weird thing for those deals happen. I want to be clear on this. What people don't understand, when you deal with the press, they have a code that they just sort of presume that you know, and lay people don't know the code, which is like, this I want to say on background, this I want to say on the record, et cetera, et cetera. Now, a woman like her, she will know because she's worked in this field. The only reason why you would make that promise to the Times is if you wanted the story in the Times. She is under no obligation to say to the Times, oh yeah, I'm only going to talk to you. I'm not going to talk to the Washington Post. I'm not going to talk to the Washington Examiner. I'm only talk to you. And the reason why she does that is because she wants the Times to carry the story as opposed to another outlet. And she is strategizing. The Times are going to hit the...
I hope Sam Seder at least got paid for this disgusting smear job against an accuser of sexual assault, because otherwise he's just doing it for free. And in a way that's, I don't know if that's better or worse. I guess we're beyond the scale of how terrible these people can get. They've truly crossed the threshold. Like this is insane. And the fact that they can, there really is no difference between the two parties when these pundits are discrediting an accuser because of her political affiliation. Like immediately, just because they want their candidates to win, because of their stakes, the stakes. I'm gonna get livid through this. So I hope people, I guess the 10 people who watch me, thank you. I hope you bear with me. Oh, and we have a comment here from the Right and Left Trousers, my bestie. I agree with you that it is extremely sad. The saddest thing about this situation is that these people might see Plattner as, quote, the one that got away and won't be able to be exposed as charlatans and bloviating fools by Plattner's Senate career. I agree. And you know, I've been thinking about this too, actually, and how like they're pretty much, you can already see Ryan Grim having moved on into like, you know, okay, who's the next person we can get in there? Who's the next player? Who's the next player? You know, to him, it's just a giant fucking sports game. And if it's just one player out, we need to get a new player in so we can help Democrats win that Senate seat. You know, so they're already moving on. And what I've been thinking about is how, you know, how in nature patterns repeat themselves over and over again, even in ways that we don't anticipate. The pattern that I'm noticing that keeps repeating itself, or that pundits are copying almost from the Democratic Party from, is how, you know, Democratic politicians, like, pick whoever, right? Like, let's pick AOC. They think to themselves, it doesn't matter how many times I fuck up on purpose or vote the wrong way on aid to a genocidal apartheid state. It doesn't matter how many times I punch the left in the face, because at the end of the day, where do they have to go? They have nowhere to go. They have to come back to me. I'm the only game in town. You know how Democrats say that as a party as a whole? I think people in left media have also convinced themselves. I mean, we're the Majority Report. Like, we are the channel that has over 2 million subscribers talking about left issues. If you want to hear us cover lefty news from a lefty perspective, or if you want to consume lefty news about politics or whatever from that perspective, where else do you have to go? you're gonna have no choice but to sort of overlook the fact that we ran cover for a war criminal sexual abuser just for the stakes and stay subscribed to us. As long as there's no cost to pay for these pundits and bloviators, as you very astutely point out, I think there isn't going to be a reckoning. Like, I think people should en masse unsubscribe to the extent that they had memberships to something like Broken Points. First of all, why? And if you did and you're a lefty or consider yourself a lefty, now is the time to cancel. Because these people, until they are personally affected, financially affected, they have no incentive to change. The same is true for pundits, and it's true for the Democratic Party. I don't know if it's a pattern that, or an analogy that sort of works as apples to apples, but that's, I guess, my 2 cents in terms of what it would take for them to actually reassess and reevaluate and apologize and change.
Audience I want them to hit. If you wanted this on the on the right, you wouldn't go to the Times. That's what comms professionals do. We have this story. Where are we going to go? And she went to the Times and made a deal with them. You'll get an exclusive when you write this. People do that in film festivals too. Like, I'm only going to go.
So because she wanted her allegation reported on in the New York Times instead of an overtly biased outlet like the Washington Examiner or whatever the fuck, Sam Seder is saying that you should not believe that accusation. What a feminist. What a feminist. And I think anyone who experienced sexual assault or might be watching the Majority Report had to have been so disgusted with this. Like, how can you not be? How can you not be? It's only like, and these people's jobs is not to be fucking comms people for fucking candidates. You're supposed to be a quote unquote journalist. You're supposed to scrutinize these candidates, not manipulate your own viewers and try to use them to get them to vote for people because you personally decided you want to help the Democratic Party. That's so crazy to me. It's so crazy to me. And so many of them are doing it to the point that I'm actually asking myself, like, are these people, were they paid behind the scenes? Like to sort of like the ad agency that was pushing Graham Plattner, like Fight Agency, like, did they like invest in Majority Report and Broken Points? Like, Ryan Grim is already super rich. So I don't even know why that would be an incentive to like discredit themselves so profusely over this. I mean, genuinely baffling.
People want the premiere. All right, so good. As they left my home, okay. But then the weeks dragged on. They kept coming back to us saying the editors needed more. I needed to go on the record. Okay. We need more screenshots. Okay. I met every benchmark they set, eager to provide more sources or evidence as needed. I don't know why you wouldn't do all of that from the beginning. After the story went up, I began to ask them, wait, where are the stories from the other women? Where are their accusations of sexual assault? Why am I the focused? Why are there 11 paragraphs dedicated to detailing my work history?
Which is hilarious because it was such a footnote in the story. It obscures the true nature of her collaboration with Republican operatives and her work in Republican politics. And she's asking, where are their accusations of sexual assault? I don't know, girlfriend.
Yeah, they probably just wanted to embarrass themselves by leaving those out, like as if they actually existed. Like, what is she talking about? Why would the Times do this?
Yes.
Well, I mean, listen, if she is suggesting that they lied to her and said that there's 3 other women who will claim sexual assault, you should come in here, she should out them for that.
Yeah.
Because in that instance, the whole thing sounds like a total hit job by these reporters. Remember, they've been working on the story for months, according to her, right? I mean, the weeks
at least
dragged on. And that's just when they had her stuff. Why does it say nobody could corroborate when I offered them sources that could corroborate? They obviously went to these sources, and those sources could not corroborate. They may be saying to her, well, I'll corroborate, but they couldn't do it. Why did they include an out-of-context quote from a friend joking, do not call Graham after I called off my wedding? Because she knew I would never.
That's interesting, by the way, because as our friend Ryan Grim has pointed out, the timing of this so-called relationship with Graham seems...
As our friend Ryan Grim pointed out, these people... I can't wait for the day when someone leaks those fucking group chat messages or group Twitter messages. They all collaborate. All of them. All the time. And I think it's been obvious to anyone sort of following news even semi-closely, because a lot of us, 99% of the left, I would say, this is my unscientific hunch, but I believe most of us on the left, at this point, get our news from social media. That's just the way the world is working right now. Like, we get it mostly from wherever we are. Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. Very few people right now get their news from tuning in at 9 p.m. to watch what CNN has to say. So the idea that they are all collaborating together to sort of think, okay, which candidates are we propping up? Which candidates? Where do Democrats need to win a Senate seat? Who are we going to push? It's the most disgusting, dishonest shit. And it's finally being exposed, I think. And I think that's part of why the backlash is so intense. And they're going to tell themselves in their little liberal echo chamber that they all live in, because they're rich and they live in a bubble. They're going to tell themselves that people are just throwing a tantrum. Twitter is always, they always do this. Every time they get a backlash, it's also politicians do this when they get a backlash on Twitter. They say, oh, Twitter is just Twitter. These pesky little peasants, ignore it for a week, come back. It's all going to be, it's going to be settled. It's going to be great. People are going to get over it. I think this is a moment where I think the backlash is way too strong for people to get over. We'll see. I could be wrong.
Seems to potentially overlap with, and she said this publicly, she was engaged to a man who ended up being gay and didn't follow through with the wedding. So, I mean, I don't know what the nature of their relationship was, but she's kind of admitting there.
They're really throwing every personal sort of thing they could dredge up about this accuser. I mean, this is what Andrew Cuomo did to his accusers, to try to smear them and, smear and discredit their allegations. Just like, who did she date beforehand? Were they gay? Were they not? Like, this is disgusting. This is disgusting. And Emma, who pretends to be a feminist, you should be so fucking ashamed of yourself. So fucking ashamed of yourself.
That, I don't know, perhaps those two time periods overlapped. I'm not exactly sure.
She goes on to say, like, where's the mention that I'd supported local Democrats? And most of my family and husband are liberal. I wonder,
what
like,
do you think about women for Kavanaugh?
Yeah, exactly. I'm sort of curious where their positions on Israel are. And I'm only asking this because she's raising it as being exculpatory or somehow burgeoning her legitimacy.
Sam Seder, who is a Zionist, is now pretending that that the accuser of Graham Plattner is secretly working for Israel, because Graham Plattner is such a defender of Palestinian rights. Graham Plattner, who killed people in Iraq and Afghanistan. These are opportunists. There isn't something they wouldn't lie about to help a candidate of their choice win and help Democrats win. There isn't, if they can use Palestinian rights and the struggle for Palestinian liberation as a cudgel to help their shitty war criminal candidate get into office, they will use that.
The Times also failed to include my mention that I did confide in multiple friends through the years that Graham has been abusive long before he was running for office. Those friends confirmed they told the Times so. Now, this is very suspicious because there's nothing in that Times piece that suggests that they're looking to protect Graham Plattner. No. It is not inconceivable to me that the Plattner campaign had attorneys going like, you haven't really corroborated this, that there's some really shoddy reporting here.
Yeah, if you control F the word corroborate in that piece, there's a couple different times the New York Times is taking pains to say, yeah, nobody would corroborate this violence.
I don't know who the fuck this person is who always like hides his face from the microphone. I guess they're too ugly to be on camera. I mean, definitely personality-wise, very ugly. But also the fact that that his version of reading an article is to do Control F and look for the word corroborate. Liberals are idiots, but they're dangerous idiots. They're misogynistic. idiots. And there's nothing they wouldn't do. And Kyle Kalinske is going to say this very soon. We're going to listen to a clip. There's really nothing Graham Plattner could have done. Graham Plattner could have killed their family. Okay? And they would have still pushed for him. It appears to be. I don't know what the actual camel that broke the actual straw that broke the camel's back was for all of them. But it seems they all came together as a group and said, okay, we actually can't support this anymore. Just the way they all came together and said, we have to defend Plattner. We have to help Democrats retake the Senate. We'll see. We'll see.
Stuff. People will say, like, yeah, they had a emotional relationship, but the violent stuff is entirely uncorroborated.
It is Jay Tingle, burnishing, not burgeoning. Sorry, I don't know what I said in that context. I don't even remember now. It is interesting that he only confided in her.
You know what? Shut the fuck up, Sam. I'm done with this clip. We can move on. Ay, ay, ay. Ay, 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 ay. So, Emma didn't stop there. She also used her social media following to tweet this. At the time. So, unless there's something else coming, the big New York Times expose is that Plattner was a bad boyfriend to some women, but also a good boyfriend to other women. That was her take. That was her take about sexual assault allegations. This is how Democrats are going to fight for women's rights when they don't win back majorities. Okay. Now, Emma did post this video from today. Let's react to it together. Let's see if she has reassessed. Let's see if she learned something from all that egg on her face. Let's see. I also love that she did the whole, she really followed the PR playbook of like, you know, okay, you gotta, when there's a backlash for politicians especially, or celebrities of any kind, they tell themselves, okay, we got to release the statement, make sure the captions are in the video, make sure you release it to your followers, make sure you really address it right away. These people think that they're politicians. It's actually pathetic in many ways. Oh, before we get to Emma, we have another comment here from the right and left trousers. That disembodied, okay, we have an answer. That disembodied voice is Matt Leach. Is it Leach or Lech? Matt Leach. Matt Leach. How about that? He's like a slightly less annoying version of Ryan Grimm, but also kind of worse because he considers himself a socialist and so should be better. I've unfortunately come to understand that really, it really doesn't. I mean, I hate saying this actually, but when it comes to like the socialist label, it really means nothing, especially for people who already have like clout or 2 million monthly listeners, like, you know, people who have established themselves in the left media ecosystem, who make money off of covering the news. I think it really doesn't, like, the socialism kind of goes out the window. Same applies to Hassan. You know, they're not really, it really means nothing at the end of the day. It's just empty branding. Although there was a period of time, and my friend likes to remind me of this just to make fun of me, where I actually thought Emma was better than the rest of them, like Matt and Sam and those people. Like, I actually thought she had some core consistent principles, and I was very much mistaken. So let's see what you have to say, Emma. How do you respond to everything I just said? Let's see.
Hey everybody, I just wanted to jump on here to address the serious, credible allegations against Graham Plattner. This story is devastating. I believe the victim here. I think that Graham should drop out of the race. He has betrayed many, many supporters by not being forthright about this. I would include myself in that. I believed his campaign when they said that there was nothing new coming out. And it looks like an awful, awful accusation, an incredible one, has come out. Now, this movement has never been about one individual. Any candidate that takes up the mantle here should share Graham's belief or the campaign's belief in ending complicity in the genocide in Gaza, Medicare for all, taxing billionaires, and more. But obviously, this is a devastating development, and we'll be talking about it more on the Majority Report tomorrow. Hey, everybody. I just wanted to jump on here to address the serious...
I love the shameless plug at the end. Don't forget to tune in tomorrow when we'll talk about it. So very clearly, this is not something that Emma has decided to just go out there on her own and make a decision about. I'm sure this has been a group chat conversation in terms of, okay, now is the time. And what appears to be the straw that broke the Plattner camel's back is that apparently they have been led to believe by the campaign that, okay, there's nothing more coming out. No more sexting outside of marriage. No more sexual assault accusations. No more Reddit posts that say that Graham Plattner likes to kill people. Those, and by the way, those were not discrediting enough for any of these people at the time. It was to the left. The left looked at those Reddit posts, including myself, and said, fuck this piece of shit, who said he enjoyed killing people. But that was not a bridge too far for the commentariat class, apparently. Apparently, it was being promised that there wasn't going to be anything more. Okay, we can't defend you again, Plattner. Oh my God, we can't, how many times are we going to do this? And of course, with abusers, I mean, this is something that I guess they should have realized, is when you let them get away with one thing, they're going to think that they can get away with anything. I mean, and that's kind of like the template for politicians. So they all should have known better. Now let's see. Let's see this. I'm sighing because I know, oh my God, it's gonna be tough for me. My bestie, Crystal Ball, tweeted this at the time, right? That the Times allegations came out. We can see that here. Very clear double standard at play with Plattner reporting because he is anti-Zionist, an anti-oligarch. For example, Newsom dated a 19-year-old when he was 39 and slept with his best friend's wife, but for some reason this isn't the subject of breathless exposés. Reporters aren't banging down the door of all of Newsom's exes to dig for more dirt. It's not considered potentially disqualifying. Now, I reacted to this by saying, who the fuck told you that Graham Plattner is anti-Zionist? Plattner never said that about himself. Never, not once. So why would she say he's anti-Zionist? We know why. Because she's trying to rally the anti-Zionist community and say, get behind them, go defend them against sexual assault allegations, go, go, go. Israel is behind this smear job. Go defend that sexual abuser. That person who said he liked killing people in Iraq and Afghanistan, that it was an adventure for fucking sake, go defend them. These people think so little of their viewers. And this is, I guess, part of the backlash. And I've seen some comments that said, hey, I've been a fan of the I don't know why these people were, but I've been a fan of the Majority Report. I've been a fan of, it's hard for me to say this, but I've been a fan of Rand Grimm's reporting. I did not say this. Somebody else did, just to be clear. And I'm very disappointed in how you people went to bat for Graham Plattner. I guess in a way it's good that they exposed themselves and discredited themselves so profusely, but these people think so little of their viewers. They think they can so easily manipulate them to push for any candidate they choose. It's truly egregious, I would say, and kind of heartless. I mean, these people are paying you. these people have come to trust you. Not anymore. Maybe that's a good thing. So she called him anti-Zionist, right? And I noticed this reporting, which came not too long after. And it was about, and it's from the Bangor Daily News, which apparently Bangor is a city in Maine. So good for me to know, good for you to know if you haven't known, a little geography there. And it covered how Graham Plattner actually made a quote-unquote Passover appeal to Maine's Jewish community. And specifically, he did an outreach to J Street. Friends of the show. So I wanted to read this part that we're gonna. So he did like a Seder, a Passover Seder, with more than 50 community members, including a handful from other faiths who had never attended a Seder, gathered at the Smith-Toby Post 21 American Legion Hall in Bath for the traditional Jewish ritual meal. After the Sullivan military veteran shook hands with arriving guests and hugged friends, he told the Bangor Daily News that when he attended his first Seder in his 20s, he found it to be the coolest religious ritual, delivering a communal message on freedom from oppression. It's a great time to listen and take on information from people with different viewpoints, Plattner told the group after they seated at long tables prepared with food. The Seder came as Plattner's sharp criticism of Israel and an old tattoo of a Nazi-linked skull and crossbone symbol remain among the major factors in the primary against Governor Janet Mills. She is a strong supporter of Israel, which has seen its favorability drop sharply among Democrats following its genocide in Gaza. I'm saying genocide, the article said war, fuck this article. He is leading Mills in the primary for the right to face longtime Republican U.S. Senator Susan Collins, also a supporter of Israel, who defended the American Israel Public Affairs Committee after Plattner pledged to refuse donations from the pro-Israel lobbying group. The campaign organizers said it was Plattner's idea to host Thursday's event. With a Jewish stepfather, stepbrother, and other family ties, Plattner said he's long enjoyed the holiday's traditions, keeping political comments brief. Guests sang blessings and solemnly took turns reading the story of the Hebrews' exodus from Egypt before enjoying salad, salmon, and brisket. So a lot of pandering so far, but take a listen to this. Stephen Koltai, the main chair of the progressive quote-unquote Jewish group J Street, whom Plattner asked to help organize the event, noted Passover has been inherently political for thousands of years. Koltai said in an interview that, given the tenor of the campaign season and the rise of anti-Semitism, it was meaningful that Plattner initiated the Seder. Oh, look, J Street is really appreciative. The son of Holocaust survivors, Koltai said he was concerned in the fall when he learned of the tattoo and Plattner's descriptions of Israel's actions as genocide. Oh, wow, he really didn't like that word. Interesting. In-depth conversations with Plattner eased his concerns. He added that as a supporter of Israel and a two-state solution, he agreed with much of Plattner's critique of Israeli policy. The issues nagging Plattner's campaign aren't likely to go anywhere during a contentious election year. But like early Plattner supporter U.S. Senator Bernie Sanders, independent of Vermont, a Jewish critic of Israel, Koltai said, these other issues are secondary to who should win the election. Sorry, I'm trying to find the part. I really don't want to read any more of this, so I'm trying to find the part that's relevant. Here we go. In-depth conversations with Plattner eased his concerns. He added that as a supporter of Israel and a two-state solution, he agreed with much of Plattner's critique of Israeli policy. You see, so here he's basically saying that Plattner supports a two-state solution. And that's why his concerns were eased. So Plattner invited the J Street lobbyists to come to a theater, a Zionist lobbying group, ease their concerns by saying he supports the two-state solution. And Crystal Ball has the audacity to lie and say that Graham Plattner is anti-Zionist. J Street has a litmus test for any candidate that they support or endorse. Anytime you see endorsed or supported by J Street, like Ro Khanna, like John Ossoff, like Chris Van Hollen, who for some reason Hassan Piker is so horny for, J Street has a litmus test. Anyone who doesn't support a two-state solution does not get the endorsement of J Street. So here's Plattner on his knees in the middle of Passover, begging J Street, begging to ease their concerns and promise them, we all want the same things. We both support a two-state solution. I'm just being loud. It's just campaigning, you know. I'm just campaigning. That's why I called it a genocide. It's not like I have principles. I'm not anti-Zionist. And Crystal wasn't the only one, to be clear, who lied about Graham Plattner being anti-Zionist. Hassan did it too. So let's listen to this. Oh, this is going to be rough. I'm listening to this for the first time. So if you are as well, I hope it's going to be fun for both of us. This is a monologue Crystal did to defend Plattner from sexual assault allegations. I'm going to play it at 1.5 speeds because I take yours and mine's mental health very seriously, and I think we deserve to get through this as quickly as possible.
So guess what, guys? Graham Plattner's tattoo has made me more ride or die for him than ever. Let me explain my thinking here. So as Ryan and Emily covered yesterday, Maine Democratic Senate candidate Graham Plattner is under fire for a variety of old Reddit comments.
More ride or die than ever. Oh my God. The right and left trousers, what are we going to do? How am I going to get through this video? I used to love her. I'm so pissed. She did her hair for this one too. Yes, she did. She did. Look, it's like falling off. It's like I don't watch Star Trek or Star Wars, but like where Princess Leia, you know, no, she had hers in like buns. That's a different hairstyle. Anyway, yes, she did her hair. It looks great. Looks great, bestie. Oh my God. Okay, let's get through this. Let's just get through it. Let's get it over with. I'm going to reduce the speed a little bit. Oh my God. Oh my God. Sorry, I keep complaining. I should not be complaining. I'm doing this willingly. Allegedly. Okay, here we go.
Guys, Graham Plattner's tattoo has made me more ride or die for him than ever. Let me explain my thinking here. So, as Ryan and Emily covered yesterday, Maine Democratic Senate candidate Graham Plattner is under fire for a variety of old Reddit comments and an extremely poor tattoo choice. So here's that tattoo revealed in a pic of Graham drunkenly serenading the crowd with Miley Cyrus's Wrecking Ball as a gag at his brother's wedding. Honestly, it's a good song. You guys should listen to it. Graham says he got the tattoo with a few of his buddies in the service during a drunken night of shore leave in Croatia. And it turns out it's not just a cool-looking skull and crossbones, but a Nazi insignia. Well, yesterday we received the update that he has already had that tattoo covered. Let's take a listen.
I think that racism and anti-Semitism are a long scourge on our society, and a long scourge.
The Reddit posts that she's referencing show him being so fucking racist towards people from the Middle East, people from Iraq, people from Afghanistan. And instead of exposing that gap between what he's saying now about how he's anti-racist and the truth, she's using her job to paper over the inconsistencies, the lies, instead of helping her viewers see through the bullshit, which is supposed to be the job of journalists, to suss out politicians, to help them suss out politicians, because politicians lie. He was about to be sworn into. He was on track to potentially win a Senate seat for 6 years, one of the most powerful positions in the world. And instead of vetting him in the way that he deserves to be vetted, she was running cover for him. It's maddening. The right and left trousers here says, me too, about me loving Crystal and her hair. Me too. I unironically think Sagar has grown over the years and Crystal has shrunk. And all those fantasy wars and genocides he longed to take part in, it's really disappointing, I think, to me, those Reddit comments were very clear about who he was as a person, just a nasty piece of shit. And it's so disappointing to me that people who purport to be motivated by values of trying to change even if you don't believe the Democratic Party can be reformed, you can at least believe that some people are trying. I know people who are trying to help the Democratic Party actually change from within. I don't believe that they have a shot, but I believe that there are good people trying to do that. And to sort of see someone like Crystal, who I believed was on that side, sort of say, actually, I don't really have any values. I'm gonna mischaracterize those Reddit comments. I'm gonna mischaracterize those sexual assault allegations against him in a way that just helps Democrats win. It shows you how empty inside they really are, that they really don't have any values. These people like Emma, people like Crystal, Ryan Grim, I think we all knew, never had a principled bone in his body. But especially you're referencing the right and left trousers. You're referencing, I think, the Reddit comment that talked about how, and we're going to look at those Reddit comments as well, just to refresh ourselves. He talked about, Graham Plattner talked about how, like, he wishes he could have joined, like, the war in the Philippines. Like, he was bloodthirsty. So the fact that she would misrepresent those comments and just say, oh, he was just being just a rowdy little boy. And I gotta say, I think the fact that he's a white man kind of really exposes just the biases and the standards that exist against candidates of color, and how white candidates aren't subject to that same kind of scrutiny. Although I do think it's mostly informed by how they all really wanted Democrats to win. So it almost didn't matter to them that a serial killer like Graham Plattner was maybe going to hold that elected position. It's very disappointing.
On our politics, and I think it has no place in our world. For that reason, I have gone and gotten it covered up. Last night, I went to a tattoo parlor, and I got this to cover up the skull and crossbones. It's a Celtic knot with some imagery around dogs, because my wife Amy and I have two wonderful dogs that we love a lot. This far more represents who I am now than even the skull and crossbones did, which I thought that it was.
So now the tattoo is obviously still hideous visually, but no longer hideous symbolically. So what are we anti-fascist leftists and progressives to do with all of this? Well, the first and most important question to answer is this man actually a secret Nazi?
I don't think there's a we anymore here. I think you have shown people who you are and what you stand for. And it's not on the side of anti-fascism. Because if you were actually consistent about the sanctity of human life, you would have seen those Reddit comments that the right and left trousers here very astutely pointed out. You would have seen those as a non-starter. But your number one priority isn't electing people who are moral or have convictions. Your number one priority is just to help Democrats get through the finish line and help them win back a Senate majority, even with a Trump presidency. So it's not like they're going to pass any fucking legislation that helps people. You just want Democrats to win because it gets your juices flowing. It gives you adrenaline. It gets you a boost. It makes your idiotic husband, who literally thinks politics is ESPN. Like, that's how shallow of a person you married into. Just so you guys can have a good night thinking you won something when you didn't win anything. I'm sorry, I'm getting too personal and I'm not going to, but this is just... from the right and left trousers. I could even forgive some of those statements if he made them, Plattner, as a young man. But so many of those Reddit posts were from like 5 years ago. Yes. That's why when I saw how they and all of the people in independent left media, I don't think there was a single person who covered those Reddit posts correctly or fairly. Like they all ran cover for them. And that's why I think the backlash from the left, including people like myself at the time, was, do you not see brown people as people? Do you not see people in Iraq and Afghanistan and the Philippines and Vietnam? Do you not see the value of their life, human life, as equal to that of Americans? And I think that's the schism that exists. Like these people have only decided that a sexual assault allegation from someone who shares their politics, that was the straw that broke the camel's back. That an American white woman. It wasn't the fact that he enjoyed killing people in Iraq and Afghanistan. Oh no, he was just young and misunderstood. Rand Grimm even said that, that there was anti-white bigotry. He was trying to appeal to white supremacists to turn out the vote for his fucking former bartender. Do they not see people from the global south as equal to them in terms of human life? It's just the entire facade of them being on the left or anti-fascist, as Crystal is saying, has just completely fallen apart. Graham Plattner really exposed them for the, craven opportunists they are.
Obviously, if the answer was yes, that would be disqualifying. But from the available evidence, the idea he's actually a Nazi seems utterly preposterous. Here, the likely, by the way, Palantir hacked Reddit leak is very useful. We can read through a wide variety of Graham's often impolitic comments, which he made when he thought he had internet anonymity and no expectations of running for public office. So what do we see in those comments? Well, some comments on sexual assault and race that are definitely not progressive, for which Graham has expressed regret, and some comments proclaiming himself a psychedelic-taking communist and Antifa super soldier, which would make him about the furthest thing possible from being a Nazi. For what it's worth, he was also a Michael Brooks fan, crediting the late socialist commentator with his political shift and mourning his untimely death. So between the fact that we actually have access to his edgiest shitposts, and none of them are far right, and the fact that I am personally married to a man who...
None of his edgy posts are far right? What about the posts where he said that killing people was an adventure for him? Oh my God.
Accidentally got a Metallica tattoo, while sober, I might add, but he thought it looked cool, so he just went for it. I do believe Graham's Croatia's shore leave story and think we can confidently reject the theory that he is somehow a secret Nazi. For me, this makes the question of whether to continue supporting Graham or not extremely simple and also vitally important. In fact, I genuinely believe that this Graham Plattner question...
You know what I think? This is, I guess, so sort of tangential to the points I'm making. I'm going to go ahead and blanket ban... Hear this, liberals. This is for you, liberal commentators. Hear, hear. Hear, hear. No more adverbs. No more adverbs. This is why I believe it's monumentally important. It's deeply important. Stop. No more adverbs. You're trying to emphasize your point instead of, because you're hiding behind the fact that there is no substance to what you're saying. No more adverbs. Banned. Banned from adverbs. Deeply, importantly, vitally important. It's vitally important, that question. What's vitally important, and just to go back to your point, the right and left trousers, which I'm glad you make about Sagar, sort of having demonstrated some more evolution, at least rhetorically, in terms of whether the Republican Party is even salvageable. This was sort of how Rising, when they were both on, of course, I'm not referring to the disaster of a nightmare that show exists as now. I'm talking about when they were in the Rising chairs. The thesis was sort of, there is a populist left and a populist right agitating for change. And which one of those two groups is going to take over their respective party and win and become the dominant political force that's going to bring about change. It's either is it going to be the populist right, Sagar's chair, or is it going to be the populist left, Krystal's chair? And I think what we've seen from 2021, when Democrats won a trifecta, Biden ran kind of on a populist message, even though he was a war criminal and no one should have believed him, that the Democrats were not going to be taken over by the populist left, that it was structurally impossible because they were not interested in passing even modest reforms like a public option. When they had a trifecta, they wouldn't even codify Roe v. Wade. They had the House, a House majority, a Senate majority, and the presidency. And all they could come up with is excuses and rotating villain strategies to tell them, oh, no, we can't do anything except COBRA subsidies. It's always fucking COBRA subsidies. So we've discovered in real time that the Democratic Party is not going to be taken over by the left populist wing. That's the thesis has been answered from that side. And then in 2024, Trump got back in power. And did we get a populist right candidate that ended all the wars between Ukraine and Russia, that actually delivered for working class people? Did we get a populist right from the faction that Sagar was advocating for? No, we got 9 more wars from Trump, and more corporate bill, like the big beautiful, whatever the fuck it was called, that bill that Trump passed. So the Republican Party has also been resistant to any form of change from the populist wing, quote unquote. J.D. Vance stopped even pretending it was a populist because it just doesn't, you don't want to upset the apple cart. And he didn't believe in anything anyway, and he was a creation. He was made in a lab by the same laboratory that made Pete Buttigieg. So I guess what I would venture to say to Krystal and Sagar is that both of them have been proven false by reality. Neither of those parties are able to change or interested in changing, and I gotta say, despite the enthusiasm that exists on the left from individual Congress members getting elected, like the Democratic Socialist candidates like Milad Kiros, who I do like, Daria Lisa Avila Chevalier, who I do like, Chris Rabb, who I do like, 5 DSA elected officials are not going to change your party. They're just not. We saw this play out already. So I guess I would venture to say that both Krystal and Sagar really need to sort of reckon with that. And I think I agree with you that Sagar has shown more of a willingness to sort of interrogate, okay, maybe the Republican Party really is a dead end. But I think Krystal has fully convinced herself, because it's easier to believe for her, that the Democratic Party is the only avenue for change. It's the only way. If you actually are a leftist who is serious about policy wins, you have to go through the Democratic Party. The Green Party, I agree with her on this, by the way. The Green Party is never going to grow. It's never going to win a substantial amount of support or voters because it's a shit show. I don't know how else to say it. And that's why I guess I actually wrote a monologue that was sort of an appeal to Krystal to say we need something new. The Democratic Party is a dead end. Sort of like, how the way you would talk to someone who's dating like a really bad person, and you would like, or like if you had a friend who was dating someone who was really bad for them, and you try to sort of shake them and tell them, you deserve better, we all do. I think Krystal is fully trapped in the mindset that that if she just waits a little bit longer, maybe a month or two, that the Democratic Party is going to have no choice but to sort of give the gavels to Rashida Tlaib and Zoran Mamdani, and then her faction, quote unquote, will be in charge. And I think that's sad. I think it's sad. If she believes it, to be clear. I mean, there's also the potential that she doesn't actually believe in anything.
Is at the heart of what course the Democratic Party is going to take for the future. Will establishment Democrats continue to limit the field to the most professionally boring and uninspiring people on the planet? Or will the Democratic base reject their smear tactics and force a new anti-oligarch direction? Because if you are opening the gates to a broader range of candidates who haven't just been planning presidential runs since they were like 5, like total psychos, you're going to get some warts. You're going to get some weird tattoos, some off-color remarks, some very messy life trajectories. The reward, though, is you get a party that doesn't give America the ick. As Emma Vigeland puts it, quote, censorious hall monitor liberalism that refuses to accept growth in people unless you're a corporate centrist and all is forgiven, just ask Cuomo supporters, is far more of a threat to the Democratic Party's chances in the future than anything dug up on Graham Plattner. And it's more than the Democratic Party's chances, which are at stake here. Status quo neoliberalism has failed to deliver for people, and those failures are exactly what enabled the rise of fascism. The question of whether the Democratic Party base can elevate new candidates with new profiles and most critically new politics is existential for the party and for the country as a whole. So Graham's tattoo also raises the question of, what do we even consider to be a scandal? They want you to believe that a bad drunken tattoo is more scandalous than bad policy backing billionaires at the expense of ordinary.
I think it's really sad how transparent this is. That's all I'll say right now. I mean, she's really making a deliberate effort to focus on the tattoo and trivializing it, which I don't think anyone should, but she's really not, she's not showing her audience the Reddit posts. And just read them. Just read them out loud. We're gonna do that in a second. I believe she read those Reddit posts and she's choosing not to show them and just saying, oh, he was just a rowdy little guy. Off-color remarks. What she chooses to present as off-color remarks is actually a very consistent predatory, violent behavior that she's excusing right now and trivializing and minimizing.
People and support for genocide at the expense of our souls. We have to view with everything that we have. In Maine, currently, there's a choice between 2 leading candidates on the Democratic side. You've got the sitting governor, Janet Mills. She's the choice of Chuck Schumer and the DSCC. As governor of Maine, she has opposed a millionaire's tax. She vetoed adding higher income tax brackets. She opposed hiking corporate taxes, but she did implement a cigarette tax, which will disproportionately hit the working class. Now, she did pick a fight against Trump, which I appreciate, but
so this is a lesser evil argument that I guess exposes the fact that Crystal really, at the end of the day, at the core, is a liberal. Because liberals are just reactionary. They're like, okay, you have all of these criticisms about my candidate, Graham Plattner, Kamala Harris, whoever the fuck, Hillary Clinton. But what about the other one? Why aren't you talking about the other one being worse? This is their only response to good faith criticism, is to say, but what about, why do you like the other one? Don't you agree that the other one is worse? Don't you agree? Don't you agree? That's not how you vet valid. That's not, first of all, that's not how you respond to valid substantive criticisms of your precious little candidate. You're also not helping voters actually assess who deserves their vote by doing this shit.
it's not matched with a willingness to confront capital, it is not nearly enough. Mills also opposed local Israel divestment efforts in Maine. She threatened to veto statewide divestment efforts. She's been silent on the genocide and just generally toes the lockstep pro-Israel line. She also happened.
I think this kind of reactionary sort of thinking, and I saw this also from Kamala Harris supporters who would say, for any criticism of Kamala Harris at the time when she was running for president and, ignoring the uncommitted movement, kicking Muslim people out of her rallies, telling protesters, I'm speaking, their reaction was exactly what Krista was doing right now, which is to say to people, Don't you know that Bibi Netanyahu wants Trump to be in power? So if Bibi wants Trump to be in power, you should want Kamala to be in power. And that's what's called reactionary politics. You're just reacting to whoever Bibi tells you to, whoever they tell you that Bibi supports, you're going to support their opponent, just even if their opponent was literally complicit as vice president during the fucking genocide. And that kind of a bullshit framing is so dishonest. And I react really negatively to it, as you can tell. So thankfully, I'm seeing that there's a comment here from my bestie, the right and left trousers. By the way, you don't have to say, but I'm just assuming from the word trousers that you might be based in the UK. So, but no pressure to reveal that. We're all anonymous here to protect ourselves from the Zionists, and who are definitely supervising my every move. Just kidding. This is a joke. This was a joke. A comment here from my bestie, the right and left trousers. I never actually heard Plattner say he opposed Israel's genocide. The strongest phrase I heard him say was something along the lines of, I don't know if I can support a government committing a genocide. Which would be such a politician way to sort of not commit himself to calling it a genocide. But I mean, yeah, he, to be fair to the war criminal, Graham Plattner, I think he did like in his announcements video that was workshopped by Fight Agency, the firm that also helped John Fetterman, the same strategists that helped John Fetterman, Morris Katz, Rebecca Katz. They made like an ad for Graham Plattner, and it was his announcement video. That's what I was trying to say. And he said the word. He said in the video that yes, it's a genocide, but the way he said it, and even for me at the time, made me think, oh, so Democratic strategists are just going to use the word genocide, while still the litmus test isn't Zionism for their candidates. The litmus test is, do you use the word genocide or not? And like Brad Lander, right? Like Brad Lander even like proudly calls himself a Zionist. And he calls what's happening in Gaza a genocide, and he still supports the two-state solution. So it's almost like it's just a word that they're using, like to sort of dangle it in front of people's faces to say, look, I'm on your side, but it doesn't mean they're anti-Zionist. It doesn't. Saying the word genocide doesn't make you anti-Zionist. Supporting the one-state solution, like my president, Congressmember Rashida Tlaib, with equal rights from the river to the sea, and the right of return of all Palestinian refugees and their descendants, that's what makes you anti-Zionist. If you support an exclusionary Jewish supremacist state in Palestine, you're a Zionist. If you support a two-state solution, which Graham Plattner fucking does, and a journalist like Crystal lied about, because I know she's smarter than me. She could have investigated this herself. I am not smarter than Crystal. And I found out that Graham Plattner was a fucking Zionist, inviting J Street to sort of like glide them up. Okay. Oh, Wallace and Gromit. Oh my God. Okay. God, I watched it years ago, but I'm gonna rewatch it. I loved Chicken Run. I don't know if if it was the same people who created Chicken Run and Wallace and Gromit. Let me see. Chicken Run. Thank you for giving me a break from. Oh, okay. So they're both clay animations crafted by the British studio. Okay, cool. Okay, so I'm gonna watch Wallace and Gromit after this to regulate my nervous system. Thank you for sharing the right and left trousers. Okay, are we ready to play a little more?
Okay. To be the least popular Democratic governor in the entire nation and would end her Senate term well into her 80s. Do you really believe that that is the type of candidate that Democrats should rally behind for the future of the party, let alone the country? Now, Graham supports a billionaire minimum tax, strongly supports Medicare for all, wants to surge federal government direct housing construction to deal.
Sorry, bestie. I almost said baby. Ew. No, I don't mean that. Bestie, sorry. Do you not remember also how you made the exact same case about John Fetterman? Oh, he's for a billionaire tax. He's for Medicare for all. He voted for Bernie Sanders in 2016. He's endorsed by Bernie Sanders. Vote for John Fetterman. Dr. Oz is worse. Dr. Oz is worse. And to be clear, Janet Mills sucks. Susan Collins sucks. Dr. Oz definitely, absolutely sucks. But only use that for that to be the only response you have to substantive criticisms of your candidate, and all that gets you is more John Fetterman's.
With housing affordability, wants to end the forever wars and especially to end the genocide and bring peace and justice to Palestinians. Now, with no public profile or political office, he has built a grassroots movement both in Maine and around the country of people who are inspired by his model.
When Democratic apparatchiks say, oh, they've built a movement, what they're really saying, and what I wish they were honest about, is, oh, he raised a lot of money. That's how you are deemed as viable or successful in these idiots' minds. If you are able to raise money as a candidate, doesn't matter from who, although it's better if it's from billionaire, but you can raise smaller dollar donors as long as it's a lot. If you raise a lot of money, and Graham Plattner raised a lot of money, that's how you prove yourself to the Democratic Party and the powers that be, that I will count on me. I will bring you cash. I am a moneymaker. When AOC was auditioning for a seat on the House Oversight Committee, her pitch to other House members is, I raised so much money for the Democratic Party. I raised more than $1 million, is the exact quote. Raising money is your worth. That's how they assess who to get behind and who not to.
Of politics. This was just last night, by the way. He routinely garners hundreds of cheering supporters to his events. So guys, is he a risk? Sure. Could more come out? Sure. But Maine Democrats have tried to beat Susan Collins with standard.
Could more come out? Sure.
Issue safe choices before, and all of them very safely lost. There is also, I should mention, another candidate named Jordan Wood in the race who is responsible for a network of scam PACs and running exploitative fundraising tactics, who has probably done more to harass Democratic voters and scam them out of money than perhaps any other individual. He's at 1% right now, by the way. So I'm encouraged by what I've seen so far in response to Tattoo-gate. Congressman Ro Khanna, Senator Sanders, Senator Heinrich, they're all standing behind Graham. Even a sort of centrist-ish.
Talking about corruption and bringing up Ro Khanna in the same sentence is astounding work. And for anyone who doesn't know, Crystal actually, sorry for pausing you on that face. Sorry, I feel bad.
Democrat.
Okay, this is a little better. For anyone who might have not known, Crystal and Ro Khanna had a personal relationship from back when Ro Khanna was a state senator in the California Assembly. They've known each other for many, many years. That's why she runs cover for him all the time. He's being investigated right now by the Ethics Committee for all the fucking inside trading he does. She's not going to cover that. Maybe the Crystal who I thought she was is going to cover that in an alternate universe, but not this person with beautiful hair.
Ruben Gallego did not throw Graham under the bus. Here are Bernie's most recent comments. Clip is a little long, but I couldn't cut any because you guys need all of this pure quintessential Bernie.
I do have a question about your endorsement of Graham Plattner.
It was the American healthcare system, no?
Well, it's something he talks about a lot, right?
Okay. Well, let me just say a few words.
Well, he said he liked killing people in Iraq and Afghanistan, but he also says he supports Medicare for all, so the choice is clear. We're going to ask a Zionist, someone who to this day is a Zionist, someone who refused to support a ceasefire when the genocide was unfolding until after it was way, way, way too late. We're going to look to him for moral consistency. No one looks to Bernie on the left for moral consistency anymore. It's only these fucking commentators.
Number one, I am impressed that the media is so concerned about the tattoo that Mr. Plattner has. Meanwhile, as a result of Trump's massive cuts to Medicaid, the estimate is that if we don't change.
Under Biden, millions of people lost their access to Medicaid. Democrats at the time, their messaging counterattack was, oh, Biden was just rolling back the COVID era benefits. So it was going to happen anyway. Millions of people lost their health insurance under Biden, under fucking Democrats. Millions of people lost their SNAP benefits under Democrats. If you don't think that has contributed to people wanting change from fucking Democrats and not voting for them in 2024, you're out of your mind. And the fact that we don't have journalists who hold politicians to account on this. Anytime Democrats are in power, Crystal doesn't know how to criticize them anymore. She doesn't know how to do that now, but she definitely didn't do that after Biden was elected. It was all, oh, but the NLRB, Biden is so good on labor. All of the millions of people who lost their health insurance under your fucking candidate, they don't get a voice anymore. Because you have to help your Democrats get elected. And criticizing them is just, God forbid. What if people choose to vote for Trump? I can't do that. I have to hide the criticism. I can't say it out loud. And I gotta say, no, I'm not gonna say something personal. No.
Change that. 15 million people are going to lose their health insurance. 50,000 people a year are going to die. Maybe equivalent to the importance of Mr. Plattner's tattoo. In terms of Mr. Plattner, this is a guy who served four terms as in combat. He was a Marine, 4 tours of duty. He was in Shima. He saw friends die. He came out of that war as
he killed people. He killed people. He said it was an adventure, that he would do it. He said in the Reddit posts that, God, I hope this ends very soon so that we can get to it, because I can't stand this. He said in those Reddit posts that he would do it all over again. But Bernie doesn't see people who are not American as equal human beings. From the right and left trousers here. I'm so over the word served. Me too. Unless it's like said in the queer gay way of like, oh, she's serving. Like she's serving you know what I'm saying. But pretending like killing people in Iraq and Afghanistan is serving anybody except the military industrial complex is, yeah, that's the moral clarity Crystal is getting guidance from here, apparently. I hope the access is worth it, Crystal. The fact that you never criticized this piece of shit. I hope that your private chats behind the scenes, I hope they're worth it. I hope you're getting something out of it. I hope you jack off to, I don't know what you and Kyle do, but I'm sure the proximity and the closeness to Bernie fucking Sanders really means something to you. Really makes you feel special, makes you feel important.
He is acknowledged with PTSD, got good treatment at the VA. Got his life together. This is a man who served his country, who suffered, who had some difficult moments, who said things that he should not have said, and he has apologized for them. But I think if this country is about anything, it's about understanding that every person, me, you, everybody else has gotten dark moments in our history, and we go on. I think the issues that...
Sorry, just to be clear, I laughed because the right and left trousers here said Crystal serving Ava Brown in this clip.
Graham is talking about, the need to deal with massive income and wealth inequality. Healthcare is a human right. Raising the minimum wage are the issues that are going to resonate in Maine, resonate all over the United States of America.
So you're standing by your endorsement?
Absolutely.
Can I ask you about the tattoo? Do you think it's necessary that he gets it removed or covered up?
Look, once again, we are dealing with a collapsing healthcare system. As a result of Trump's policies, 50,000 Americans may die unnecessarily every year. And you were asking me about whether or not a guy should get a tattoo removed? Sorry.
He said he was going to remove it.
Classic Bernie. I also spent a good bit of time reading through the replies from the Normie Dem Pod Save audience under their interview with Graham. I didn't see a single negative one. In fact, I've actually seen more nervous lefties than liberals, possibly because of our past John Fetterman trauma, which I do understand. But let's be real, guys. Fetterman did have ideological red flags in the present day, not based on some old post. The biggest red flags were on Israel, of course, and also that whole trying to murder a random black guy in his neighborhood situation. Also worth remembering, though, that Fetterman has literal brain damage, which apparently made him basically a different person. So it does seem like a pretty unique situation. The other intelligent critique I've seen from lefties is just basically, listen, guys, we got to pick our battles, and the Nazi tattoo guy is just not worth it. Journalist Adam Johnson, for one, tweeted this, quote, "Do you think it's wise to piss away capital defending someone with a Nazi tattoo, someone with little pedigree on issues that matter, and was a Blackwater merc? Does this feel like a good use of our time and energy?" To that, I would respond, yes, this is the absolute best use of our time and energy. It is an essential use of our time and energy, and I will die on this hill. And to be honest,
You did. You did die on this hill.
the shit posting, but mostly leftist Reddit posts, actually kind of laid my fears on the Blackwater front, and that was the most concerning aspect of Graham's lore for me personally. But on the political capital front, with respect, I think this analysis is just wrong. It's not how political capital works. There's not like a well of capital the left holds in reserve, which we have to budget across a variety of candidates and causes. In fact, when we go in for a candidate and stick with them and succeed, our political capital and our political power grows. We didn't abandon Zoran when he wouldn't condemn globalized intifada and was relentlessly smeared as an anti-Semite and a jihadist. And standing with him, even when he was under fire, only grew.
Comparing this to Zoran getting bad faith attacks about the word intifada, which means uprising, and to someone who said, I'll keep saying it, he enjoyed killing people. How dare you? How dare you run such a transparent cover for such a piece of shit and using the left to hide behind and strategy?
Our collective power. In the same way, you cannot capitulate to Trump. You cannot capitulate to the establishment Democrats who helped to bring us Trump. A reckoning is happening right now in the Democratic Party. They know it, and we know it. The leadership has lost control of the normie liberal base, making the kind of political revolution that Bernie dreamed about actually may be possible. They're out there asking Cory Booker and Gavin Newsom about AIPAC. They forced reluctant leaders to back a shutdown.
Cory Booker is up for re-election this year, or was up for re-election this year. Did you hear Crystal or anybody talking about a primary challenge to Cory Booker? Did Crystal do a monologue about how Cory Booker, like, this is the year, once every 6 years, we get to primary these pieces of shit senators out of a seat, or try to? Did you hear anything about primarying Cory Booker from the majority report? No. But you did hear 20,000 hours of them talking nonstop about Graham fucking Plattner in Maine because they want to help Democrats win the Senate. And Cory Booker is already in the blue state. He's a Democrat. In their minds, he's not really worthy of, he doesn't need to be challenged. He's a blue vote. They want to help Democrats win. They don't care. They don't care that Cory Booker is an AIPAC, you know. I was going to say, no offense to sex workers, but, and I don't want to actually insult sex workers by comparing them to what Cory Booker is doing, which is blatantly corrupt. They don't care. If they actually wanted to primary Cory Booker, this was the year. We're not going to get another chance until 6 years from now. And they used all of their time, energy, effort on one Senate seat in Maine because they wanted to take it from a Republican and flip it to blue, which would have given Democrats a Senate majority. Cory Booker, trust me, is not changing his position on Palestine because of pressure from the base. He doesn't need to. Democrats don't give a shit what the base wants. The base wants Medicare for all. Did we get it when Biden was in power? Did we get a public option? Did we get a $15 minimum wage, which was already a compromise? Did we get codifying Roe v. Wade, which even a majority of Republicans at the base Republicans support? What the base wants has never, ever determined policy. Corporations, lobbyists write policies. corporations that are very friendly with Cory Booker, who you idiots in the media did nothing to try to challenge his power.
They didn't want to do it. But if the Democratic establishment is able to get us to abandon Graham, they will use this playbook over and over and over again on every candidate who poses even the slightest challenge to the pro-oligarch consensus. And guess what, guys? Not all of those candidates are going to be as impeccably and improbably squeaky clean as Zoran Mamdani appears to be. People are messy. If you are going to be a party of people and not a party of creepy skin robots, you're going to have to live with some dirt, or in this case, some ink. And Sagar, we...
Unbelievable. So let's see some of those Reddit messages that Crystal was referencing. From January 2nd, 2020. Ask Reddit, why did you enlist in the Marine Corps? User P Hustle stands for Graham Plattner. P Hustle. Hustle. January 2nd, 2020. Again, cannot say this enough. This is recent. As our friend, the right and left trouser, said. Wanted to have an adventure and kill some people. Joined up in 2004, did Fallujah and Ramadi. And managed both. Hell of an excellent experience. This is the off-color Reddit comments that Crystal was talking about, but not showing. Because she thinks her viewers don't deserve. Or maybe she wanted to manipulate their takeaway from what they would think of Graham Plattner. And this was too much. She thought, no, I don't want them to sour on my guy. I can't show them this. I don't trust them. Hell of an excellent experience. Wanted to have an adventure and kill some people. Real service here. Another Reddit post from P Hustle. This is from a little bit before, 2015. You may get it, but in my experience, explaining that war was the most enjoyable experience of my life has tended to not go over all that well. Oh, but Bernie told me he was suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. Hell of an enjoyable experience, the most enjoyable experience of my life. Four tours as an infantryman in the Marines and then Army, did both Iraq and Afghanistan. It's hard to explain how much I enjoyed combat. It is both physically and intellectually challenging, and incredibly exciting, especially the first few times. And it should be noted, he went back and did 4 tours. 4 tours. I was never a huge fan of killing, at least not for killing's sake. He's talking about them like they're animals, about people like they're animals. This is the way people who hunt deer talk. Not for killing's sake, but I did love winning, and that required killing. When a fight is over and your element has not only survived but also killed or captured enemy combatants, well, it's a feeling of accomplishment that cannot be replicated. It's one of the purest forms of contest. But explaining that to someone who hasn't experienced it is difficult. What he means to say here is explaining it to someone who is like mentally stable is difficult because he's a psychopath. In the end, civilian life really seems devoid of purpose or excitement after intense combat. Given the choice of a safe, stable, and fulfilled civilian life or another tour like Ramadi in 2006, I wouldn't even hesitate. Off color, Crystal? From your anti-Zionist quote-unquote candidate? Off color? What, you should have really used your entire time in the monologue. That pathetic piece of writing you should be completely ashamed of. And that persuaded no one to move to your side. You were just writing it for Ryan Grim to pat you on the back and tell you what a beautiful little baby you are. You should have just used your entire time to show these Reddit posts and tell people, hey, millions of people who pay me to watch me on Broken Points, what do you think about this person? What do you think about this Reddit post? What do you think? I'm not going to tell you what to think. What do you think? I think leftists were very fucking clear about what they thought, even though you try to misrepresent them, minimize their criticism, And this is putting aside the way you mischaracterized and discredited the sexual assault allegations. I was never a huge fan of killing, at least not for killing's sake, but I did love winning, and that required killing. A real journalist would have asked Graham Plattner, how many people did you kill? Do you ever think about it? Do you ever wonder if you could go back in time and not kill those people? Would you have liked to? Do you have any regrets? Because Crystal got to interview this piece of shit war criminal, serial killer. And somehow it just ended up being like licking his ass, like a softball. Softball doesn't do it justice. What I'm trying to say. Somehow those questions didn't come up. It was like, where do you think we are in this moment, and where do we go from here? You're not a journalist. And to the extent that you're an unpaid or paid strategist, you're not even good at that. You can't cover for a fucking serial killer and expect to maintain a level of respect from the left. I hope people are canceling their subscriptions. I really do. They don't deserve your money. She talked about Plattner being anti-oligarch quite a bit. Anti-oligarch, he's against the billionaires. And I noticed this article from Open Secrets, a nonpartisan, I believe they're nonpartisan, group that tracks donations to candidates and PACs, super PACs. And this was from last month. Despite anti-billionaire theme, Plattner's small dollar campaign draws small checks from billionaire donors. Oh my God, they like him too. Isn't that great? Maine Democrat Graham Plattner has built his populist Senate campaign around the fierce opposition to what he calls the billionaire class. That hasn't stopped some of the ultra-wealthy from donating to his campaign. The 41-year-old combat veteran and oysterman is the frontrunner for his party's nomination to challenge Republican Senator Susan Collins in one of the nation's most competitive Senate races, a contest Democrats increasingly view as central to their hopes of regaining control of the Senate chamber. True to his anti-establishment branding, Plattner has built a massive small dollar apparatus, raising $16.3 million through May 20th, with nearly $2.2 million in cash on hand, according to the FEC, ahead of the June 9th primary. Nearly 60% of his total comes from unitemized contributions under $200. But those documents also show that Plattner, whose endorsers include prominent progressives, Senator Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, received contributions in May from several billionaires, including George Soros, Pat Stryker, John Stryker, and Jennifer Pritzker, according to an Open Secrets review of FEC data cross-referenced with the Forbes billionaires list. His campaign received $7,000 from Soros on May 11th, $7,000 from Pat Stryker on May 1st, $5,000 from her brother John Stryker on May 7th, and $1,503 from Pritzker on May 17th, filings show. Combined, these contributions account for less than 0.5% of the nearly $4.4 million raised by the campaign, a negligible share of his overall itemized contributions. Okay, sure, negligible. $7,000 from each of these billionaires is not negligible to me. And I think a real lefty journalist would have, or anti-fascist journalist would have, maybe, who presented Plattner as anti-billionaire, anti-oligarch, maybe would have liked to cover this. It really is like it's just like the Democratic Party's quote unquote anti-billionaire messaging is just fucking lifestyle branding. It's not rooted in anything real. It's just window dressing. It's bullshit. This was Crystal from Today. I agree Plattner should drop out. The allegations are horrible, and I see no reason why his accuser would lie. Some things have to be beyond the pale. Some things have to be beyond the pale. Calling killing people in Iraq and Afghanistan an enjoyable experience, the most enjoyable experience, was not beyond the pale for Crystal. But promising pundits in her group chat that, okay, no more scandals, and then being betrayed by that serial liar and having another scandal dropped on them, that was beyond the pale. The families of the people he killed and enjoyed killing was not beyond the pale. From the right and left trousers commented here, really putting the pale in beyond the pale. Do you see the pattern? You have to be pale to be considered not beyond the pale in their minds, which actually goes to to friend of the show, Ryan Grim, and the case he tried to make a few weeks ago to defend Graham Plattner as a pale white man. Because Ryan Grim said that actually it's anti-pale bigotry to criticize Graham Plattner. You don't believe me? You don't believe me? You don't believe me that Ryan Grim apparently came out as a white supremacist to defend Graham Plattner? I'll prove it to you. I'll prove it to you. I'm not a liar. All I do is tell the truth. Listen to this shit. I'm kind of almost thankful that Ryan Grim is such a piece of shit, because I don't have to tell people that Ryan Grim is a bad person, a soulless piece of shit, bad person. He proves it over and over and over again. Like, if I just let people find out. Was it Angela Davis that said that? Let people, no, when people show you who they are, believe them. Maya Angelou, sorry. Listen to Ryan Grim here. Okay, let's revisit this. It wasn't that long ago. This was from June 11, 2026. From Zed Jelani here. Ryan Grim says he's glad Plattner won because it's forcing progressives to confront bigotry against white men. Comparing it to people coming out of the closet to address homophobia. If he'd said this while we worked, fuck off. I'm not ready for this. Are you ready for this? Are you ready for this pale rights advocate to make his case to you? I'm not ready, but I'm going to play it anyway.
About this for a long time, and
it's a flip side of back in the early 2010s, and 2000s, when the gay rights movement was gaining steam. What
the Barney Frank argument?
What people discovered.
I can't believe. Oh, I'm getting so mad. I can't believe this straight white man, piece of shit, is trying to use my people's struggle to defend a racist, genocidal white man, straight man, and trying to pretend like it's coming out of the closet for being a white, crazy person, straight, crazy white person. Oh, I'm getting so mad.
Yeah, is that you've got a gay uncle. You actually, once people started coming out of the closet.
The Andrew Sullivan argument.
Yeah, once people started coming out of the closet, like, oh, that guy's gay. I love that guy. He's great. And my life is fine around him. This is the reverse for liberals. It's like, this is a white guy, and he's actually pretty nice.
A big burly combat vet.
Big burly combat vet.
Someone you could see with Joe Rogan.
And he's fine. Don't be afraid. Don't be scared. Like the the current cultural divorce between kind of progressives and white men is so like stark that it's just culturally, morally, ethically wrong, but also just pragmatically from a political perspective, you can't build a national party.
Yeah.
If you assume every white guy or every white guy with a deep voice, a combat vet or whatever, is like out to get you.
Or if you talk about him.
Who's a combat war criminal, whatever. I'll never not be surprised by how stupid Ryan Grim is. I mean, truly, like he came up with that analogy and he really thought, I can make this work. I can manipulate people to see this analogy and have it make sense to them because people care about gay people, LGBTQ people, queer people. They care about them. They have them in their lives. They have them in their families. They see them. I'm going to analogize this to a crazy straight white war criminal who I am personally friends with, even though as a journalist, I'm not supposed to be friends with politicians, although we know that for Ryan Grim, this is not the case. He's psychosexually obsessed with AOC in ways that are insanely creepy. But here he is, trying to use the LGBTQ rights struggle to defend a war criminal, combat veteran, and saying he just wants to be seen and loved and hugged. But he's suffering from all this anti-white racism by these progressives. Who is he pandering to here? It's very clear. In his mind, in his liberal supremacist mind, and rich liberals are so out of touch, it's a cliche to say, but I mean, they don't know any real people, working class people in real life. They really believe working class people are racist and hate LGBTQ people. To them, this is from the right and left trouser here. Oh, how are we? The right and left trousers, I just want to thank you personally for being here with me. I could not have done this alone. I usually have nobody watching these streams, which is, you know, lonely as it is, but to get through this shit, I'm very glad you were here. Thank you. We'll decompress. We'll regulate our nervous system together. But comment here from the right and left trousers. It's bad enough you hear so many disavowing anti-Semitism nowadays while rarely uttering a word about anti-Arabism or anti-Iranianism, Islamophobia, etc. But this take truly stands on its own. I mean, he really inverted because of course the Islamophobia we're seeing that is on the rise and systematically so from all of the media channels, newspapers. The New York Times is notorious for this. Like the bigotry against people of the Muslim faith it's on the rise. But the fact that that Ryan Grim would take time out of his day to pretend that there is anti-white bigotry because Graham Plattner is being criticized for being a Blackwater mercenary it's him trying to, you know what it is? It's him, Ryan Graham, doing what liberals always do, trying to use identity politics to shield their perfect little candidates from criticism and using their identity as a shield. He's trying to do that with Graham Plattner, except he's using that as Graham Plattner being a white straight guy. And to shield him from criticism, he's a Blackwater mercenary. It's so convoluted. I'm actually shocked that came out of his holes. And yes, these are very tough clips to watch, which is why we're doing it together. It's important to remember, memory is resistance.
In a way that implies he does have sort of built-in problems.
Right.
I just want to say, I've never heard Emily Jashinsky say something interesting, ever. It's almost like when she talks, like nothing really comes out except sounds. I've never actually heard her say something that made me think about something in a different light. It's almost a skill that she has to never say anything interesting at all. Ryan Grim, his skill is just, finding out how to lie in a way that's even more transparent than before. I mean, I think Ryan Grim really thinks people are as stupid as he is. And I think that's why he's wrong so often. He doesn't get it. He doesn't get that people are smarter than him. And it's not hard. I'm not saying you have to be like well-read to be smarter than Ryan Grim. I'm saying Ryan Grim is an idiot, a craven, opportunist. He should have just opened a strategy company to or become a press secretary for his beloved little princess, AOC, and just not pretended to be a journalist.
So
just inherent toxicity or something.
yeah, whether you're talking about racism or
And I gotta say, when people criticize white supremacy and straight white men, they're talking about it because there is a systemic bias in favor of straight white men. I can't believe this has to be explained, but I guess he's a straight white man, so he doesn't see it that way. Society is already built to pander and privilege straight white men. So the fact that he would try to present Graham Plattner as a victim, it's so crazy. It's so crazy. And no one bought it. But I guess it's useful for people who did not know who Ryan Grim really was. It's useful that he exposed himself in this manner. And Zed Jelani, who's it's so sad. He's a brown white supremacist, which is like a whole other cacophony of mental illness. But Zed Jelani tweeted this thinking, yeah, Ryan was making a point here. Unbelievable.
sexism, yes. And
okay. Great. So great. Okay, we have more, guys. We have more, but it's gonna be fun, I promise. I promise. Sorry, I'm laughing. This is not a funny matter, but this clip is fucking funny. Kyle Kalinske, everybody. Look at that face. You know what I like about Kyle Kalinske? I like that he admitted that he was a used car salesman before pivoting to YouTube and finding success. Because that's really all he is. A used car salesman. That's why when he talks about politics, it's the same way I imagine he talks about baseball, whatever sport he watches. It's a game. It's a game to him. Oh, you never knew? Yeah, he was a used car salesman. And whichever state he lived in, I believe it was upstate New York. I could be wrong on that. But yeah, used car salesman. Like the metaphor is right on the face. But doesn't it make so much sense? That's all he does. He's just selling used cars. And the cars are the Democratic Party. That's why he's so unpersuasive. I remember when Biden was still running for re-election, he was like yelling at leftists and telling them, well, don't you agree that Biden did so many amazing things? Don't you get it? Don't you get it? And he would like read a list of talking points that he memorized, but this and this and this. And it was so unpersuasive, but you're like, this man is yelling at me. Politics is supposed to be, I keep saying this, and it's like never been less true. Politics is supposed to be about persuasion. But Kyle Kalinske, all he knows how to do is just yell at people. And honestly, like if I was I would never be a Democratic Party candidate, but if I was, I would not want Kyle Kalinske to defend me ever. Ever. Like not because of some horrible things he said in the past, which I concede. It's just that he's so bad at it. He's so bad at it. But it's fun for him. He loves being on camera. He loves getting engagement. He thinks he's a player in the game. He thinks he has influence. And straight white guys love thinking that they have power or influence. It's what gets their juices flowing. It's what makes them overlook the fact that they have tiny, tiny penises. From the right and left trousers here, I will always watch this. Melania takes impressions, though, a guilty pleasure. Oh, did he imitate Melania? Oh, that would be funny. You see, he should have just stuck to comedy or something, like impressions, like even impressions of politicians. Like, that's a niche that people do. But political commentary, I've never seen anyone less effective at it. Like, literally, he's repulsing me. Anytime I listen to him defend anybody, like there are candidates that support Democratic Party candidates who were just elected who support the one-state solution, and I'm never gonna listen to Kyle say anything about them because it's just gonna make me hate them. Like, that's how bad he is at his job. But I'm glad that he does Melania impressions. I will look that up later to decompress, to regulate my nervous system after suffering from this.
Graham Plattner can fuck a toaster. Graham Plattner can shove a pineapple up his ass. Graham Plattner can shove a pineapple up his dick hole for...
I'm just going to say, the left isn't saying, oh, Graham Plattner, first of all, sexual assault allegations is not comparable to shoving a pineapple up your own ass, which is, as long as it's consensual with yourself, you should be free to do that. I'm not going to tell anyone to do that, but like, that's not sexual assault allegations is not the same as shoving a pineapple up your dick hole, which I believe would be very difficult.
All I care. Graham Plattner can jack off to a cartoon of Scooby-Doo wearing Brian Noam's big-ass titties, and I will crawl over fucking broken glass to support that man. Why? Because he actually wants to end the wars. Because he actually wants to stand up to the Israeli genocidal terror state currently doing multiple genocides. Because he actually wants to crack down on the Epstein class and arrest the criminals.
Plattner wanted to do none of those things. Plattner hung out with a J Street lobbying Zionist, the head of J Street in his state, to tell them that he's a Zionist too, who supports a two-state solution. So Kyle is not even right. And the sad thing is that Kyle is so stupid that I actually don't know if he believes what he's saying. Or maybe he just doesn't really care if it's true or not. He just thinks it's an effective point to make, a bombastic point. And that almost matters more. Like, he doesn't actually care, is what I'm ultimately saying.
And raise taxes on the billionaires and take that money and redistribute it and give people health care, give people education, give people higher wages.
Yeah, I'm sure that's why those billionaires gave Graham Plattner $7,000 checks, right? Because he was going to tax them so hard. Forget the fact that even if Democrats, under some miracle fantasy that Kyle Kulinski jacks off to, won the Senate somehow and the House next year, Trump is still going to be president. You're not going to get you're not getting a tax on billionaires. If Plattner was in the Senate next year, do you think he would have fought for a billionaire tax and Trump was going to sign it? So you're lying to your viewers about what is even possible under a Republican presidency. Like, I really think he sees himself as a salesman still, because that's his training. And you know, I've referenced this a few times, but there's a great play by Arthur Miller called Death of a Salesman. And you never actually find out what the protagonist is selling, because the lesson or point of the play is to sort of show that it doesn't really matter because everyone is selling something. And what Kyle is doing is selling the Democratic Party.
give people unions, actually fucking fix this country, end the crime spree of MAGA, and arrest the criminal terrorists.
Sorry, just about the unions. Don't mean to interrupt you, bestie. You're almost done, thankfully. Did you know that Joe Manchin actually, Joe Manchin, the rotating villain for Democrats when Biden was in the Senate, when Biden was the president, Joe Manchin was a co-sponsor of the PRO Act, the legislation that would have made it so that it would be easier to unionize for people, beef up the power of unions, make it easier for people to unionize. Joe Manchin was a co-sponsor of that legislation. He ran on it. That's why people in West Virginia voted for Joe Manchin, even though they hated him and they knew he was a piece of shit. But even though he was a co-sponsor, Democrats got into power. They had the House majority, a Senate majority, and the presidency. And the PRO Act somehow, some way, didn't even get a vote on the floor. Oh, but Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema. Joe Manchin was a co-sponsor of the PRO Act. Why didn't even... how come Democrats had all of this trifecta power and that bill that Joe Manchin himself co-sponsored didn't even get a vote? And what did people like Kyle Kalinske and Crystal Ball and Ryan Grim, did they pressure Democrats to actually put it on the floor? Maybe sign a discharge petition so that forcing a vote on the PRO Act? Did they do that? Did they pressure the politicians that they were so fucking good friends with, like Ro Khanna? Did they ask Ro Khanna to take a break from inside trading to maybe force a vote on the PRO Act when Democrats still had power? No, because they want to campaign on it forever, just like Roe v. Wade. They want to dangle it in front of people's faces to say, vote for us next year and we'll pass the PRO Act. Vote for us next year. Vote for the senator. He's co-sponsoring the PRO Act. Oh, no, sorry. Actually, that senator is now a rotating villain. Never mind. Besides, what do you want us to do? We only have 51 votes. We need a bigger majority. Vote for us. Can you rush in a $5 donation to help us pass Roe v. Wade and codify it into law and pass the PRO Act? They want to campaign on these issues forever while never actually fighting to pass them. That's the jig. And they think we're stupid because they're stupid.
Inside the Trump regime. If you're willing to do those things, I don't give a fuck what happens in your sex life, bro. Let me say, I do not care at all. And anybody who does,
it's sexual assault allegations. And Kyle is framing it as your sex life. I don't give a fuck about your sex life.
I find you rather unserious. I find you unfit for this moment that we're living in, where fascism is actually...
Holy projection. Kyle, I gotta say, I don't think you read a single book in your fucking life that didn't have cartoons in it. I think you're one of the stupidest people I've ever had the unfortunate experience of listening to. And I get it. To some people, your humor is funny. I am going to check out your Melania impressions. But I think you're incredibly fucking stupid. Stupid people can be funny. I think you should pivot as in a career move and actually do comedy. Maybe sketch comedy. Try improv. Sign up for a class. Maybe there's a UCB chapter near you. Try it. Because when it comes to political analysis, you're one of the dumbest motherfuckers I've ever had to listen to.
Actually taking over the country. It's actually happening. And instead of going after the fascist, you're going after the anti-fascist because of reasons and stuff and things.
He's talking about leftists not supporting war criminal, Blackwater mercenary Graham Plattner.
Well, forgive me, but I find that wholly unconvincing. And by the way, Graham Plattner, go ahead and sex my mom. I don't give a fuck. You want to sex my sister? Go right ahead. You could sext her too. Genuinely don't care.
Yeah, that's a person of conviction. That's a person who cares. I am going to say something personal, which I hate to do. But I think Crystal could have done better. I know, I get it. She's a whole other creature of the swamp when it comes to running cover for the Democratic Party, but I do believe she could have found someone smarter. Or maybe he makes her laugh, in which case I totally get it. Because at the end of the day, you want to marry someone who makes you laugh, right? Like, life is so hard already. You wanna laugh. You have to laugh. Okay, this is the last. Is it the last? I think this is the last person we are gonna give a hard time to, and you know who it's gonna be. You already know. It's friend of the show, Hasan Piker. Hasan. Ay, 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 ay. You're the last one, so we're gonna go easy on you, okay? Don't worry about that. Chatters, so this is from today. I gotta give you some background. So I don't watch Hasan, but just to, I guess, preface what we're about to witness. People who have been watching Hasan for many years have had criticisms of Graham Plattner and just the fact that Hasan just consistently shills for the Democratic Party and thinks everyone is too stupid to realize. So they've been giving him a hard time. And Hasan's reaction is just to throw tantrums like a baby, like a little baby, like a rich, privileged, white little baby. So here's the tantrum he threw earlier today. A chatter says, we're asking for some accountability since you gave positive coverage to this guy, Graham Plattner, even after knowing what he did. You're supposed to be on our side, but you run cover for war criminals, even though sexual assault is where you draw the line. Hasan tells them to shut the fuck up. Let's listen.
We're not making it about our least favorite Twitch streamer. We're asking for some accountability since you absolutely give positive coverage to this guy after knowing what he did in the Middle East. You're supposed to be on our side, but you run cover for people you know are war criminals, even though sexual assault is where you draw the line. I'm gonna move on from this. Okay, please shut the fuck up. Please. We're not making it about our least favorite Twitch streamer. We're asking for some accountability since you absolutely give.
I'm sorry, they were almost kind of respectful about it. My God. I guess we're not doing any learning today, huh? All right, let's see this one. So this was, I guess, earlier when people had criticisms of Graham Plattner during the initial round of sexual assault allegations. And all of the liberal punditariat class was rushing to defend Plattner.
Yikes. People like Plattner are the people who killed 100+ little girls in Iran. I'll never support that. Yikes. Yeah, I don't care, man. Yeah, you got it. Well, luckily you don't have to vote for him. You can vote. Yikes. People like Plattner are the people who killed 100+ little girls in Iran. I'll never support that. Yikes. Yeah, I don't care, man. Yeah.
I don't care, man. I don't care. So he killed some people. So what? I don't care, man. That's his personal business. Oy, 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 oy. Let's see this.
Apologize to everyone who's been warning you about Graham Plattner from the beginning, you performative coward. Yeah, okay, dude. Apologize to everyone who's been warning you about Graham Plattner from the beginning, you performative coward. Yeah, okay, dude. Apologize to everyone who's been warning you about.
So apparently what he did is he laughed and then he permanently banned them from the stream. The person who said that. That's how liberals always react to criticism. You know, they just kind of like put fingers in their ears and say la 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 la, not happening. La 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 la. Banned from my coalition. I guess you're not going to organize with people who don't like Blackwater mercenaries. Here's what Hassan said at the time about Graham Plattner. The manufactured scandals around Graham Plattner have nothing to do with his background, like being a war criminal, and everything to do with trying to take out a left populist anti-Zionist candidate before he can flip a red Senate seat. They'll complain about the tattoo or whatever, but if he loses, centrist liberals will do exactly what AIPAC does and use the manufactured lies to claim going against Israel or demanding Medicare for all is something voters rejected. You see, he's telling, listen, peasants, AIPAC is coming after Graham Plattner. Even though he's a Blackwater mercenary who killed people in Iraq and Afghanistan and said he enjoyed it. Go defend them. Anti-Zionist, like the lie, like Hassan knows what anti-Zionist actually means, that it means supporting equal rights from the river to the sea and the right of regardless of race, ethnicity, or religion, and the right of return of all Palestinian refugees and their descendants. How do I know that? Because I did a stream covering Hassan talking at length about the one-state solution, and I gave him tons of props. We only have one anti-Zionist Congress member right now, and that is Congressmember Rashida Tlaib. Lying and saying that Graham Plattner is anti-Zionist just because you want people to support him, even though he has never said he was anti-Zionist, and in fact, actually confirmed to J Street that he supports a two-state solution, makes you a liar. You're a fucking liar. And I don't know why anyone would listen to Hassan Pike. I mean, I literally don't understand the appeal of listening to his streams. I mean, he just yells at people all the time. Okay, so that was that. Now I want to share some reactions that I've seen to this sort of entire disaster. Because I feel like a lot of people made much better points on Twitter than I could, principled leftists. Like myself, there have been a lot of strong but fair reactions to all of this. You know, because it does feel like a betrayal from the people that we consume content from. You know, these people were supposed to be the answer to the CNNs and the MSNBCs. They marketed themselves that way, as being independent. And they ended up just being willingly co-opted and captured and bought off by the Democratic Party, shilling for their candidates at any cost. Like, it's almost comical how bad Graham Plattner as a candidate has been and how much they all defended him. Like, just to help Democrats, as in Sam Cedars' terms, recapture the Senate. So here's this take from the brilliant Nardine Kiswani. She's the founder of Within Our Lifetime, a Palestinian human rights organization in New York City. If you happen to use Twitter, which unfortunately I still do against my better judgment, you should definitely follow Nardine. The Blackwater mercenary left. Sorry, I'm not. This is not. Like, her turn of phrase is funny. She's a funny person. She's very she's a great communicator. That's why I'm laughing. This isn't a funny matter. The Blackwater mercenary left cannot be shocked that the guy whose resume was multiple deployments helping wage war in the Middle East is also a rapist. I think the Blackwater left, I've heard a lot. The Plattner left, there's the Abu Ghraib left, I think is one of my favorite phrasings that I've seen. Humor is how we cope. Humor is how we make sense of the world and ourselves. At least for me, humor is a huge coping mechanism to deal with traumas and anything that comes up. And I think calling it the Abu Ghraib left is extremely powerful because, for those who don't know, I don't think we talked about this, but Graham Plattner also happened to be stationed at Abu fucking Ghraib. It's not enough that he was a war criminal who enjoyed killing people. He was also at Abu Ghraib in 2005 when it was very, very, very bad. We don't know the kinds of things he did, and the journalists, quote unquote, that we have never interrogated them about it. But yeah, multiple deployments helping wage war in the Middle East. Also, I guess to the shock of white people, was discovered to be a rapist. Let's see this take from this user. Whatever happens in this Graham Plattner situation, and this is from Virgo So Political. Whatever happens in this Graham Plattner situation, remember these people made excuses for the abuse of women, the rape of women, and the millions of Afghanistan and Iraqi men, women, and children that were killed, all for one seat in Maine. Remember these shameless pieces of shit. And he's including here tweets from Glenn Klippenstein, who, by the way, was mentored by the demonic force that is Ryan Grim. I don't know that. I genuinely believe Ryan Grim is a demon. I've thought about it. For quite a while. Just it's the only thing that makes sense. It's the only explanation. Demon. Here's Crystal shilling for Graham Plattner. New York Times published uncorroborated accusations against Graham Plattner. Yeah, we know. We know. All right, let's move on to this take. Oh, and we have another comment here from the Right and Left Trousers. Thank you again for joining this stream. I'm genuinely thanking you from the bottom of my heart. Like, doing this alone for 2 hours, I would have given up. Like, actually having somebody here makes it worthwhile. It's so wild to me that we've lived through the aftermath of 9/11 and October 7, and the supposed left thought leaders are still pulling this shit. Totally agree. And I think it's because of the incentive structure that we have created for them. And first of all, they've built off their success off of us, right? Like the consumers of news, of analysis, people who want to listen to a lefty point of view about the news and figure out what's going on and try to suss out what's going on in a way that's intelligent and smart. They have created a market for themselves that has built their reputations and given them access to candidates, to Democratic Party agencies, to Democratic Party donors who check out their streams, politicians. And we've created an incentive for them, I think, to be dishonest in their coverage almost. They don't feel the need to be truthful, because to them there is a priority. The priority number one to quote unquote change the world. At least I'm thinking of Crystal. This is at least what I believe. No one else has to subscribe to this. She wants the Democratic Party to change completely, to be hollowed out from the inside out and taken over by forces who would pass Medicare for all and a $15 minimum wage, and who would support a free Palestine from the river to the sea, equal rights from the river to the sea, and the right of return of all Palestinian refugees and their descendants. I believe she's smart, she's informed. She believes that can happen, or she wants to believe that can happen. So at any cost, getting a Democrat in that Senate seat for them to take over the Senate. That's what Sam Seder was talking about when it's the stakes. Helping Democrats win at any cost became the overarching goal for all of them, even at the expense of lying to their viewers, because they see their viewers as stupid, idiotic sheep. I love sheep, by the way. They're my favorite. They're one of my favorite animals. I think they're very intelligent. They're very friendly. But they see the fact that they have an audience of millions as an opportunity to push Democrats over the finish line. And that's where the dishonesty comes in, and where they're trying to manipulate people and play with people. And I think the funny thing is that people are too smart to buy what they're selling. You know, from the right and left trousers, he's an incubus who wakes you up in the night to whisper clever talking points about the squad in your ear. Is that Ryan Grimm that you're talking about? The idea, like the demon of the night coming in to whisper. I'm so thankful. I'll pull this up in a second, actually. But Ryan Grimm gave an interview to Vanity Fair where, like, he literally, because he was trying to sell his shitty book, don't buy it, no one should read it. But he admitted that he had a tight relationship with AOC. He admitted that he has an inappropriate relationship with a politician who he's supposed to be criticizing. He's supposed to be a journalist. You're not supposed to have tight relationships with politicians, but he just admitted it. And I think everyone knows that he has some weird fantasies about AOC. It's always been obvious because he's too stupid to hide it. He can't. He wants to help her win. He wants her to be president. He thinks that would make him and her part of history, and he wants to be a part of that history. I think the sad thing is that he doesn't understand. AOC is never getting a higher position than being a House member. That's it. She killed any goodwill she had left with voters who matter, who helped her win in the first place. She's never going to win a Senate race. She's never going to win. She's definitely never winning a presidential race. So this was another tweet. I can forgive mass murder and rape of third world people, but it's devastating to hear that he sexually assaulted a superior American. And that's what it comes off as. The fact that was the straw that broke the camel's back, or the camel that broke the straw's back. Camels breaking straws, I don't know. The fact that this is the thing is making a lot of people who are not white or have any experience, any background that is not white and rich, to sort of think of these pundits and liberal commentators who are 99% white, must be mentioned, is that they view people who are not American as subhuman somehow. And it's a larger conversation that we as a people have been having about the dehumanization of Palestinians and people of Muslim faith, people from Yemen, immigrants, trans people. The dehumanization trope is very, unfortunately, the pattern has been consistent in American politics of scapegoating certain groups, or just flat out driving out hate against certain groups for geopolitical interests. And I don't think these commentators understand how their shilling for Graham Plattner really does come off as being motivated by a white supremacist bias or an American supremacist bias. It's really ugly. It's really ugly. And I think actually Congressmember Chris Rabb, Crystal asked him in an interview, why won't you campaign with Graham Plattner? Why won't you go out there and campaign for Graham Plattner? She was trying to sort of force him to say that he would help Graham Plattner get elected, because that's what's good for Democrats, and we're a team, and you have to help the team. We have to help the blue team win. Why don't you help the blue team? He's on your team. And he said, I think any candidate of color in the same circumstance as Graham Plattner, with those Reddit comments, with that history of sexual assault, would not have been given that much latitude. And this is a conversation we need to be having. Crystal didn't like that answer, but I think he was right. Just a few more. And if you're watching, thank you. And if you're watching this later, thank you. But especially giant thank you to the VIP MVP of the show, the right and left trousers. I really do thank you so much. Oh, I'm getting euphoria now because I realize we're close to the end. Oh, I don't want to do this. I mean, talking about Graham Plattner. That's what I mean. Hey, and I'll never have to talk about him again. Yay. Yay. You see, like, good things are possible. This is from Mohammed on Twitter, Marge Barge America. Plattner should have been disqualified from running at all when he decided to join Blackwater after the war crimes they committed. But crimes against Muslims are always an afterthought to American politics. And specifically the pundit class who presents themselves as independent, who we elevated as consumers to these positions of podcasting, they definitely misused, I think, their influence and their reach and wasted it all on a criminal, an Islamophobic, racist criminal. I hope they learned something from this. I don't think they did. This is again from Nerdine, the co-founder of Within Our Lifetime. Maybe if murdering brown people had been a disqualifier, we wouldn't be here to begin with. Another day, another reminder that much of the American left only seems to treat rape and murder as disqualifying when the victims are Americans and not overseas. Are you listening, Ryan? Are you taking this in? Are you learning from this moment? Are you reflecting? The entire organizing principle for commentators who want to have influence and help Democrats get elected, it can't just be helping Democrats win and overlooking on purpose all of the red flags that candidates are showing, because at that point you're not just betraying yourselves and your credibility, you're betraying your viewers, you're betraying people who believe the thing, who need to consume news from people who are reliable, who rely on you to tell them what's really going on, to tell them who politicians really are under the surface, not just parrot their talking points because you want to help them win. It's malpractice. If you want to be paid pundits for the DNC, go and get a job at the DNC. Don't try to help them in such a transparent, disgusting way through, pretending to be neutral. I'm just a commentator. I'm just talking about what's going on, but I'm not going to show you the Reddit posts, but I'm going to tell you what to think. People deserve better than you, Crystal. People deserve better. They definitely deserve better than you, Ryan fucking Grimm. I'm so mad I'm mispronouncing his name. I really hope go back to hell. Whatever hell spawned off your demonic personality, go back there. We don't want you here. Those of us who are actually interested in a better world, who are hoping for a better world, and for journalists who actually scrutinize candidates and give us, actually give us information that is useful about candidates and criticize them and show us who they really are, instead of making up stories in your fucking brain and selling it to people because you want to help Democrats win. Go open an AOC fan club, Ryan. Seriously. You're not a journalist. And I am going to show that Vanity Fair article where you talked about having a tight relationship with AOC. I'll never stop talking about it. Last tweet here. I am so genuinely fucking incensed about this Graham Plattner shit. All of the excuses US quote-unquote leftists made for him, people can grow, he's offering real change, suddenly stop applying if the people he's hurting are American and not Iraqi or Afghan. Yes, that's exactly right. And it's kind of a painful realization to sort of consider that these commentators don't see, I guess, people from the global south as real people. They're just content. They're just people they're making content about and using for YouTube AdSense money. By the way, this channel is not monetized. Also, no one listens to this channel, thankfully. So there's no financial incentive for me to do any of this except vent and share how I really feel. So if you're watching, thank you. I do this for you. I do this for free. Here's Vanity Fair interviewing Ryan Grimm. Oh my God, these ads are nuts. Why are they so aggressive? Okay, hold on. Look at this. In an interview ahead of his new book, The Squad, don't buy it. Don't buy it. Ryan Grimm has never told the truth. So if you're trying to actually find some interesting gossip and truthful information, it's not going to be there. In an interview ahead of his new book, The Squad, The Intercept's Ryan Grimm dishes about his tight relationship with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the group's broader political legacy, and how criticizing Israel could put its members in big jeopardy for 2024. December 4th, 2023. Tight relationship, which I believe, by the way, is one-sided. I don't think AOC gives a shit about Ryan Grimm. I think she's using the fact that he's in the media to do free PR for her, which he has been very loyally doing, like the puppy dog he is, demonic puppy dog. But yeah, tight relationship. Isn't that interesting? Tight relationship. I hope it's worth it. I think people should be disqualified from media jobs if they have tight relationships with politicians, or at the very bare minimum, Ryan Grimm and Dropsite should never, ever report, quote unquote, about AOC. You're biased. You have a tight relationship with her. Why the fuck are you allowed to write about her constantly, nonstop, doing PR for her? Anytime she farts, no one calls him out on it either. Not to his face. Behind the scenes, sure. Everyone talks about it. But publicly on Twitter, no one calls him out on this. obvious malpractice. This is 101 malpractice in journalism. No one calls him out on it. Emma Vigeland doesn't call Ryan Grim out on it. The fact that he has an inappropriate relationship with a politician who he reports on. Crystal doesn't call him out on it to his face. Brianna Joy Gray never calls him out on it. But I will. Until the day I die. I'm so dramatic. Oh my God. Anyway, this was so long. Thank you so much for bearing with me. Thank you for watching this if you have. If you're watching this later. The right and left trousers, are you still here? Are we still together? I feel like you are. I can feel your presence. Your warm presence. Keeping me company. Like a friendship blanket. We have a tight relationship, like Ryan Grim and AOC. Isn't that lovely? I guess I can't report on you now. I can't, like, you know, but it's okay. I wasn't going to. Oh, you are great. You see, this is why I trust my instincts. Anywho, 2.5 hours. I believe that is a record for me. Thank you for sticking it out. The right and left trousers. I will check out Wallace and Gromit after this. And of course, I hope this was useful. I don't know. And I hope it was enjoyable. I hope if you're listening to this later that you've been able to like run some errands while you're listening to this. Maybe maybe cleaning, vacuuming, whatever you do when you listen to podcasts. I do this at nighttime because that's when I have kind of more free time. Again, this channel will never be monetized in any way. No channel I ever open on you. This is the only channel I ever opened, and or will ever open, and it will never be monetized. Because I think there is some truth to the idea. I don't know. This is a broader conversation, but like these commentators that I'm shitting on, I think there is something to the idea that money corrupts, even in indirect ways. I don't think Plattner was paying them to be so disgustingly shilly for him, but there is something to that more broadly. So anyway, I'm not getting paid for this, is what I'm trying to say. To regulate our nervous system together, I wanted to share this video that I saw on TikTok. Look at this little butt, the way he runs away. Oh, so cute. And that was from an account called The Whistle Pigs 4 on TikTok. I love groundhogs so much. I have a groundhog that lives under my shed, and I've been feeding them for 2 years. In the winter, obviously, they hibernate. So in the summers, I make sure that he always has, every day, a banana or an apple. I leave it by where he burrows, and makes me really happy to see him. His or her name is Jack. I will, you know, in this household, we allow them to choose whatever gender identity they identify as or prefer. So this is your PSA reminder that if you live in an area that might have wildlife if you're able to leave out a bowl of water every night for them. They sometimes have difficulty having access to fresh water because of all the fucking data centers that Democrats and Republicans are building against our will. So just leaving out a bowl of water really helps. You might be helping someone survive. Someone like Jack. Sorry, I was pointing at them. I don't know their name. I don't want to misidentify. And yeah, if there's a groundhog in your life who you can build a tight relationship with, feed them too. I'm gonna stop saying tight relationship. Just as long from the right and left trouser, just as long as I don't come across Punxsutawney Phil. Oh my God! Remember when De Blasio dropped the groundhog and killed? I believe I don't want to smear Bill De Blasio. I believe that groundhog did not survive the fall. That's actually a very sad note to end on. That's my bad. Punxsutawney Phil, though, he is obviously a national treasure, international treasure, letting us know when winter is over. So yeah, as long as you don't come across them, absolutely. They're very sweet. They're very, as you can tell from this video, they're very scared of people. Sorry, why did I remind you about that? Oh my God. That was awful. I believe that actually, like, that might have been the worst. This appears tame in comparison to other politicians, but I believe that's the worst scandal that Bill de Blasio has ever been in. I believe that actually destroyed his legacy. Forget universal pre-K, which I believe he passed, or something to that effect. It was either he did pass, had a universal pre-K. All people can remember is Punxsutawney Phil, or I'm here to remind them about it. Anywho, please, if you can, leave a bowl of water out. Help the wildlife. We're all sharing this planet. We're all floating on a rock in the middle of space. Help them survive. It's all something we can do. And thank you for watching. I'll be back here next time. Maybe tomorrow if I have something to talk about. I don't know. If you have anything you want me to react to, any videos or any clips that have to do with Palestine or the one-state solution, I'd love to hear from you. Just leave them in the comments and I'll react to them the way I've been doing today. If you're one of the liberal commentators who I savaged tonight, I'm not sorry. And Ryan Graham, I stand by everything I said about you being a demon. And I'll be back here next time I have something to say. And thank you again, the right and left trousers. And free Palestine from the river to the sea.